Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of FPS games, but most of the time it's tricky for me to get invested in them, and sometimes I even wonder why I'm there outside of I'm here to get shooty with the baddies. Now, that's not to say there aren't exceptions to the rule in shooters that I just plain enjoy, but it's rare when one sticks with me for months or even years after I play it. In a game like F.E.A.R, First Encounter, Assault, Recon, that perspective change. In F.E.A.R, I have moments where I feel like a total badass, and like a little kid that got separated from his mom in a crowded mall at the same time. However, this mall is only populated with one small girl, a shady man, and a lot of blood. In F.E.A.R, you play as the Point Man. Yeah, I know he doesn't exactly have a name, but there's a narrative reason for it. You play as the Point Man having to fight against a paranormal entity named Alma Wade, a young girl who was experimented on and imprisoned by Armacam Technology Corporation, or ATC for short. Alma herself is a powerful psychic entity filled with rage and insatiable bloodlust. The goal of the game is to find and neutralize Alma Wade before she tears apart the fabric of reality in her unforgiving rage. The game has a very eerie vibe to it that can only be described as a feeling of I shouldn't be here, get me the hell out. It's level based, but each area gives you quite a bit of room to explore and sometimes get lost. Sometimes you'll even enter areas where you'll be thinking to yourself, how did they go splat on the ceiling? Then you'll eventually find Alma staring at you from across the room before walking away. The main story of F.E.A.R spans over 3 mainline titles and some side content. It only gets weirder as it goes. But I won't go into spoilers for the second and third game here since I think they need their own videos. If you'd like that, then by all means, let me know. But as a small spoiler but not really spoiler thing, I must say that the Point Man isn't your average military SWAT guy. Over time, you realize that you, the Point Man, have more to do with the strange and freaky occurrences that happen in F.E.A.R than you think. There is a reason why you have the ability to use a slow-mo technique to quickly dispatch your enemies. It's not simply a game mechanic, there are narrative ties to it, and I love it when things like that have some sort of lore attached to them. They don't always need it, but I think it's a cool thing to do. The game does a fantastic job of flipping between gunfights and moments of spooks and scares. Both will keep you on your toes regardless of what you're doing at the moment. You know that moment in a lot of horror movies where an armed forces dude is quickly peeking around every corner before turning a corner? This game had me doing that a lot. Not just looking out for scares, but for enemies too. Trust me, the AI is not something you should sleep on in this game. They may seem easy here and there, and next thing you know, when you get complacent, a grenade will be behind you, flushing you out of cover while someone's flanking you on the side. I've lost plenty of times thanks to that. It was awesome though, really. Not only that, but most of the time, you're outnumbered in a small space with some destructible objects. Meaning, you never really have a moment to get comfortable, which is good, real good for this kind of game. Now I realize that there are plenty of other games these days that do that too, but in my opinion, of the ones I've played, not enough make an in-game shootout feel as rewarding as they should. F.E.A.R is one of the rare contenders that does. But as soon as you are accustomed to having the fight of a lifetime, it's over. And you feel as though you've made a big mistake since, well, you're all alone again. With Alma. Another reason why I don't want to go too deep into the story is because the game is very short. I wrapped it up in roughly 7 hours. And if you know what you're doing, or you know how to make good use of the quick save feature, just saying, we've all been there, I still do it sometimes, you can get through it in one sitting. Any information I divulge about the story would ultimately make the experience a tad bit weaker. But I will say this much, if you enjoy a good FPS game with some horrific twists, then F.E.A.R might be a game worth looking into. F.E.A.R is available on Steam, but if you still have your old consoles like your old Xbox 360 and old PlayStation 3, then I would also recommend getting it for that. Word of warning if you plan on getting it on PC though. If your PC is pretty modern or made with even remotely decent parts, or whatever's considered decent these days, the game will be a little bit rough to run at best and inconsistent at worst. I've seen a comment here and there saying that there's a PC patch for it that'll help it run better on more modern technology, but I haven't looked myself. If anything, I'd say that if you can find the game somewhere, pick it up for one of the consoles. If you have a PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, otherwise those aren't very expensive systems these days. And if you plan on buying any old PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 game anyway, along with the console, then make F.E.A.R part of that collection if you really want F.E.A.R. Especially if you're only interested in the first game, just so you can see if you're interested in the series in general. Because I'm not sure when, but if you were to try and buy F.E.A.R on Steam now, it would cost you about $60 because it's bundled with F.E.A.R 2 and 3 as well as other F.E.A.R content. If you only want the first F.E.A.R, I'd just recommend just picking it up at a store or something. I managed to get it for less than $10. So, pick your poison. All in all, just watch your back out there, and whatever you do, don't fall for the hallucinations. Keep your guns loaded and your corners checked. And finally, don't speak to the little girl in the red dress. See ya!